So why don't we get started? So, 12, and could we address the minutes of September 20th?
Yes. I would be happy to make a motion to accept those.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. I don't think there's any mail. Ken does that now, so. This is that file for Pleasant Hills,
Yeah, Pleasant.
so that he pulled for us earlier today.
Excellent.
So it's just sitting there.
Man, what a mess
So-
that is.
We can go to Mr. Para. So it's not a hearing, so we don't have to wait for any particular time. So we're good to go. So he wanted to be here tonight to update on the conservation restriction.
Yes.
Yes.
This is my sister Nancy. She's going to be doing the talking.
Wow! He's got the experience, and you're gonna make her do it?
She's doing the paperwork for the
I'm
state.
doing
the
paperwork, but he needs to tell me what an acre is. Anyway, so basically, back in, we were given a grant along with other towns and communities. And I got the signed, this is what we signed on 8/28/2019. And the town, we sat through several meetings and finally somebody signed it so that we could get the grant. Because originally, all the other towns, Bing with the Conservation Committee, you guys sent us to another who wanted to send us back to here, and then whoever it was didn't like the wording, so Ed Hood, who was then the director of OPACM, had to reword one sentence so that we could get this. Otherwise, 5 other places wouldn't have conservation. So we were all given the conservation restriction. Our land, which I just completed, thank you to the new assessor, the Chapter 61 form that we do every single year, okay, for 147.59 acres, okay, and we have a new forestry plan, which it's all been submitted with this. Anyway, point is that we're legal for the Chapter 61. Once we get through all of the red tape with this grant, okay, which we have submitted a lot of stuff, and there's many things that we've had I didn't take my folder and I can't remember. We had a survey, okay? So we had to have a brand new survey done, okay? Which we now discover we have 165.5 acres.
Wow.
Of course. The original deed, 1797, from Amberdown to Nathan Brown, had 560 acres, and basically the description is still the same. And there's been a lot of additions and deletions.
Yeah, right.
So nothing had been surveyed. I don't know
Right.
why.
Right.
If I had surveyed.
And when,
Well, we had surveyed most of it.
Right.
We
Yeah.
never put it all together.
right,
So that was one of the things, is to put it all together. And so OPACM hired Don Frederick from Palmer to do it, so.
Okay.
And they found 165 acres.
Could surveying have been different in 1797?
Yes, a little bit.
Well, this is a touch.
Well,
No chance.
again, most of the tracts that were taken out
Yeah.
were really not defined.
Okay, I'm just wondering about the difference.
Oh,
Yeah.
slightly, they used a hand compass
Yeah.
and a
Rod and
chain,
meter.
and a rod and chain. Now they,
and this is in the middle
now
of
it
the
was satellite,
woods.
so.
Yeah.
Swamp, ledge, lots
Right.
of trees, lots of, so, yeah.
So,
Estimation and,
Right, right.
So the only difference that's going to be is our forestry plan, that we have a brand new one, which has been submitted to, with this, because it was put on the Chapter 61 form. There's 147.59 acres, because that's what we told the forestry due that we had, because that's what the assessor's map said. So the only thing that's going to have to eventually happen is this, it's okay for this year, for what I just submitted. When the conservation people take over, there's going to be a deed written up for 165 acres.
Right.
Okay.
We will probably have to amend this, so I will call Gary Gouldrup to say, the trees and the land isn't gonna change, all of the information of these
Right.
29 pages is
Right.
not gonna change, it's just that the map is gonna be slightly different.
Yeah.
You know, you need a magnifying glass to see the difference.
Right.
And then this front page will probably say 165 acres. But what we want to make sure of, while we're here, is that when we get to the point that, yes, DCR, Conservation Commission is gonna, yes to everything, gonna be deeded to as a Robert F. Parrott Family Trust, 165 acres to, as conservation land. Okay, that's gonna be one deed, now, everything, okay? The very next day, we are not keeping the land, which we could,
No.
we don't wanna manage it. We do not wanna manage 165 acres of land.
Yeah.
Opakam Land Trust is then going to own it. So then there will be another deed done by a lawyer for Opakam Land Trust as conservation. But the conservation restriction means that nobody can ever build on that land. It's for the birds and the bees and the
Right.
forest and the
Very
trees.
Which is great, and I thank you
Yeah.
myself.
You know, so we just don't want, as all of this goes through, the town of Southbridge is then gonna hold what's now called chapter 61, but it's going to be probably new paperwork, or it still may be chapter 61, but it's going to be the restriction. We don't want the town of Southbridge to suddenly say, no, and give us a hard time. We've been doing this for, actually my father died in 2016, we've been working on this since 2017.
Even before,
Yeah, and even
I've
before
got
that.
printouts from 2014. But because we're dealing with the town, and of course you guys are the most important ones to the final sign off, but we got the state and the federal
Right,
Yeah.
so it's.
to deal with it, so they're bouncing it back and forth.
Right.
And we thought we were almost all done last year. But one of the state appraisers who was down last month said, oh yeah, everything's in place, but chances are we're not gonna bother to look at it this year.
Why?
So we have at least another 6 months.
So
At
they're not,
least.
had I known back in 2014 that we were gonna get kicked down the road so long, I would've sold it to
It's
the
just-
developer.
Yeah,
It would-
Leave this land alone,
yeah.
and it's taking this long. What's the holdup? I don't understand.
Number one is, was DCR told us originally, yeah, I've looked at it, I know there's nothing you can do with the land other than maybe build a house or two, so we've got you locked up, we don't care.
Oh.
If we
It's
don't
not
have-
a priority
it's
to
not a-
write.
Because we can't develop most of
Yeah.
the land, so therefore they didn't care to buy it because they've already, legally they bound us up with
But
it.
this is a federal grant that then went to the state. DCR holds the money while we're going through all these little steps. It's a very complicated grant, brand new grant.
So you need this title to apply for the grant, correct?
The grant's already there. We've already won the grant. We got it.
It's just
Okay.
the
It's just the
appraising.
appraising of how this, we've spent how many meetings, because Billy was still alive, with this many, many pages, it's a boilerplate thing, is to, they still, when the first draft was done, there's part of all this that has to go. The DCR then has to approve all of this. They have, by the way, walked the property. The Forest Legacy people have, so everything is basically done. It's just they need to say, oh, let's take it off the desk and sign it over.
Right.
And then it comes to the town of Southbridge, along with a check of whatever they were appraising the property of. You need to turn the check over to us.
And hopefully this time,
Is that gonna come to Concom, addressed to Concom, or
Yeah.
to the town clerk,
I,
or the town
Or the
manager?
town-
I haven't gotten that far yet. All I know is the town of Southbridge, they don't send us the check, they send. Then Opakam, which we have chosen to have Opakam now own and manage the land and not us. We
Yeah.
get a little bit too old. And part of it too is like our children, one of them lives in Germany, for God's sakes. One of them,
Yeah.
well, his son's in the Coast Guard, so you never know it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they don't live around here, with the
Yeah.
exception of a few of them. Okay, so we're not gonna, they can't agree like we have agreed
Yeah,
to all of this. This was our parents' wishes.
yeah. I'm just trying to understand, and help me out if anybody else understands, if I'm just being stupid.
We just
What
wanna
do-
make
what do you
sure
want
that
from
when all
us? I'm
this
not
is
sure.
done, you're going to, yes, okay, and turn over the check to us.
Okay,
And
so
And
then we
then
get it.
agree to take them
it
on
will be
it.
probably under the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction for the
Okay.
town to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you become, instead of chapter 61,
I think they're just trying to prepare us for
Yeah.
paperwork that we're gonna be seeing.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
That
Okay.
we might be like,
So if we see that check, instead of going,
right? You
should
will
we have a
be
pizza party?
approached
It won't address
long
us.
before the check, because you have to agree to all of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
in order for the
Yeah.
check to be released.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the former presidents cut off all the funding for this at some point. So whatever was processing stopped for 4 years. And
Let me guess.
hopefully, we don't have another election before the funding gets changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you've got everything pretty much, we're into the final stages, and
Yes.
and so this paperwork should be coming along within months,
So the
not,
money should be
more
sitting in
years.
an account,
As soon as
so
the
the grant has already been issued, so they can't undo the grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
I guess
sense.
the government can do anything they want, but
Yeah.
they can't undo the grant.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I mean, we're this close.
Yeah.
It's just that, and we really thought that when, and I can't remember the date, when the people from the conservation, the person from the DCR that heads up this conservation restriction grant, it's the, what did I know I had a piece of paper somewhere with it. It's called, oh, it's in this folder. We are part of the Conservation Restriction for 2021 Emerald Forest Borderlands. That's what this whole thing is called, okay? It's not just our land, there are us and 4 others. It isn't even in the town of Southbridge.
oh, it's not contiguous.
No, right, it's just that, though, this is what all of these lands won the grant. Okay, we don't have to, we could keep the land. Okay, take whatever the conservation people are giving us, whatever that gets to be determined. And we thought as soon as that woman Nordstrom came, Lindsay Nordstrom, from she is the Forest Legacy Program, Department of Conservation and Recreation in Clinton, Massachusetts, when she walked the land with someone else, okay, we're like, yes!
This should
And
be
then
it.
it's sitting on a desk.
Yeah.
And that's when Laney Wilder from Opakam said, yeah, they think it'll be at least 6 months before they decide to take it off the desk. And then the town of Southbridge gets involved. Because then they're gonna come to you guys and say, here it is.
And she told you that recently, or has some of the time already gone by, or?
Maybe
A
a
month.
month. And I still
So
don't believe
early
it.
2024,
Yeah.
we might see some
Yeah.
people that
Yes.
come across.
There were other people on the budget, and they have to do those before December, that they were
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
And they said, well, they don't do anything in December.
Must be nice. I would love to do nothing in December, yeah. All right.
So anyway, we just
Lovely.
wanted to come here to say that what we went through with you.
Yes,
And
no, right.
all of this
I can't
is
imagine
now
any
getting
other
there.
issues, and
No,
and
not really.
you're right to come and point out, like, so that there's not like, oh, wait a minute, it's 165, not 147, and
Right,
you know, there's,
right.
you know, oh my God, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah,
Not
So
gonna
we understand what that
support
issue is,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
we understand
acreage.
sort of what paperwork
Yeah.
should be
And
coming.
Basically, this land will be open.
Mhm.
It's not now, it's only family land. I put no trespassing signs
Mhm.
everywhere. My father let everyone go back there, and I was like, he was deaf, and the doors are locked, and people were walking around. I mean, whatever. So, but my point is, we have restrictions. It's going to be open to the public
Nice.
for trails,
For trails.
yeah,
uh,
hiking.
you know, hiking, you know, whatever.
Fishing.
There could be different,
No motors,
No motor.
No
Yeah.
motors.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
no.
except for emergency vehicles and maintenance vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of
What
the
about
issues-
fishing?
Fishing, yeah.
Fishing,
We
bass
have
hunting,
agreed to
no.
fishing. The only thing with hunting would be, that would be under OPECA if there were too many deer and they needed to by permission only for a specific
Color.
whatever. But no, we don't want.
Same thing for trapping, we put no trapping,
No
and they said,
trapping.
no, you have to put trapping in case they want to get
Yeah,
samples of,
yeah.
so.
But they're gonna be the sign
Yeah.
off because that's why we want them to, you know, be.
Yeah,
because-
Lainey had come, it's been a while now, but she
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
once to
That's
talk
true.
not only about yours, but about conservation restrictions in
Yeah.
general, because there were several.
Yeah, I know she's been keeping
So-
the town,
Yeah, I thought she
you
did a
know,
great job.
because this is different than your usual, it's higher up,
Yeah.
chapter 61.
It's too bad to hear that it's so many jumping through hoops and everything,
It's a
because
good thing,
it is so important when people do decide to use a conservation restriction to help preserve
Right,
Right.
right.
the land.
And of course,
Sorry,
the
it took you 10
historical
years to
of
do
this
it.
land is tremendous.
Because the final vote is town council has to vote on it.
Right.
Well,
And that's why we're kind of knocking on your
After
door
all
and saying,
this, that's,
yeah.
I can't see
Are there
any
many people who are
negative.
still, who
Yeah.
are still on the council,
I
who have
don't.
seen this kind of come through?
apparently John Joven was on the new town
Yeah.
manager, was on the original vote, he was on the council at that point, so he's
And I've already
familiar
bugged
with it,
him.
fortunately.
Good.
You what?
I said, because I needed an assessor, because once I realized after chapter 61, I didn't know how to fill the form out, because I've always been 167. Now what the do I do?
Right,
There
yeah.
was no
So-
assessor for a while.
So there was no assessor, so I bugged, so I emailed Jack Tobin and said, I need to speak to an assessor and I need to resolve this. And I gotta admit, he called me back that night, I was at a soccer game. And I went, who the heck is this? And he's called me to make sure that it's been dealt with. So
Oh, good.
the new assessor and he have dealt. So he's all for it, but, you know, still has to go through everybody.
Yeah.
Right, to just cross.
And I can't
your
tell
T's
you if
and
it's
dot
gonna
your
happen
I's.
tomorrow or many tomorrows from now.
Well, and certainly, you know, between one of you and somebody from here could maybe go to the council meeting if needed at the time to explain, you know,
Yeah,
or even like a little write-up, you know, that they can put in their agenda.
yeah.
Do you know when it's gonna be on their agenda?
Well, they're saying it's like 5 months from now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna,
at least,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
I mean, that would be the good news.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I just didn't know if you were, if it was gonna be on the agenda.
No, we're
As a
just
heads up.
knocking on the town's door at this point to say,
Yeah.
this is what we're
We're
doing.
almost done.
Don't
almost
stop.
done. Don't stop, yeah. Please, no more bumps in the road.
Which is typical with a lot of the major projects,
Right.
that you end up with completely different boards and commissions than who you started with.
Right.
And
Right.
they don't know anything.
And that's the thing, so
You
people
retell the
will ask
story
questions.
Over and over and over again.
Right,
And people, when I say we have land that's, you know, all conservation land, and people go, huh, who, what? And it's like, but if you ever wanna take a walk, call me, I'll be more than take you out and give you the history of it,
oh, great.
you know? You know, Pagum is doing a write-up on their new newsletter. Because I had given her a couple of articles of the history that I researched, that we've researched over the, you know, from the, what, 1700s.
Yeah.
The Avedon family is,
And then
Well
the family
established.
has been there since 1956. So,
Well, very good, and thank you for the update.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good to know
Thank you.
what-
Yeah.
so the
Thank
town
you,
really
thank you for
cooperates.
letting us know what to do, and, because this is a great thing you guys are doing,
Oh,
so. I know it's stressful.
Here's a copy of the finished survey, which is one of the requirements for the conservation
Right.
restriction. that
That's how we
have a
discovered
current
the X.
survey.
Well, he kind of knew there was going to be more
Yeah.
acres.
Yeah, because you're a surveyor,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Still, I retired, but I didn't give up this one.
You know, and most of the, you know, what was
Well, we
marked.
had surveyed, you know, 3/4 ago, we had never surveyed the east to west side because you can't get there from here without swimming. So their satellite GPS
Yes.
helped tremendously.
Yeah. Yes, and in fact, the man that's doing the first report
Oh, I
of the
took
land,
this one, Jim gave it to
yeah,
us.
the first report of the land, we walked out with him, and then I think he did most of the pictures that he took. His report, we still have corrections on,
Yeah.
but, so the final report hasn't been submitted to DCR. Okay, because he was pulling an old, from the original when we did this, what, 2022?
Yeah, and it was wrong then.
It was wrong then.
And I've corrected it every
Really?
time. On every form it comes back the original way wrong.
Yeah, they
Because it's in some database somewhere
They
that
keep,
just
because
says.
they want to put swimming on that land.
Oh, they
We
want,
said you cannot swim with the beavers,
I guess you can swim if you want.
taking your life in your
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah, and it's hard nowadays, because when you're swimming, all of a sudden somebody says, well, where's the lifeguard?
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Well,
so.
that's true.
um,
Too, yeah.
It would be the leeches and the snakes and the turtles that would bother.
yeah, exactly, that's why I wouldn't swim.
And possibly picked off by an eagle or a red blue heron or, you
yeah,
know.
leave the swimming to the
But
end.
beautiful to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Just you describing all those things or mentioning those things, I'm like, wow,
Lebanon Brook
beautiful.
runs diagonally through it about 4,500 feet.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So that's gonna protect a nice area.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Thank
You know,
you so
and the town
much.
reservoir is
Abuts that.
up against our property, because the town had to buy acreage from our father in order to, when they put the reservoir in, when they dammed up Cohasset Brook.
So it's another protection for the water supply as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've pretty much stopped people from going in there, but for a while, people would just simply go in and go across and right into the reservoir and.
Yeah,
I'm sure, yeah.
yeah. And my son did say I have to put some more, no hunting signs, because he's the only one that, his son and mine, that do hunt, because the family is allowed to, you know, but I've got no hunting everywhere. And the only problem is when the town of Southbridge let them hunt this year off Eastford Road,
Oh, yeah.
what they can do is they can manage to cross over the dam. And Jason, my son, bumped into someone who says, oh no, I can hunt here. The town of Southbridge has given me permission. He went, no, they didn't,
Yeah.
because you're no longer on their land.
Right.
And I thought that was just a breakneck area.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that.
And then people said, oh, water supply company.
And I actually thought it was only 2 years ago, because I remember Heather Blakely saying that.
I don't, yeah, so he's bumped into people
So I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
with, that are coming from where they're not supposed to be hunting in the first place.
It's hard to police the
Yeah.
yeah.
The wilderness.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank you.
thank you for
Yeah.
letting
We'll
us
be on the
know. And it
lookout.
was good to see you both.
You'll be happy when it gets here.
But if we get further, I'll let you guys know.
Anytime.
Yeah.
You have my email and my phone.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Anything you want in the minutes on Gulf Street? Anybody stop by again?
I actually stopped by today. They did do some massive soil removal from just inside, from their side of the Stone Arch culvert.
So some progress? Wow.
So some
Like,
progress.
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes, it's a good thing that they made the effort. It's a major project. This photo doesn't really, well, I'll have to email,
Yes.
send it. Like I said, there's they excavated a hole probably about 1/3 of the size of this room. They are still having some difficulty with rain, of course, and I talked with after I had looked at it. I had talked with Scott, and I explained to him, I says, well, you removed a lot from the middle arch area. I says, but standing on the tracks facing his property, there's still a large amount of soil on the right-hand side and a large amount of soil on the left-hand side. And he's aware of the fact. He says, yeah, this is just the beginning, and it's going to be a project. He referred to, he says, I'm hoping that we can continue progress and be done by the end of October. So
Is that when
we're
our
scheduled.
new deadline is, by the way?
Huh?
Is that when our new deadline is?
Yes.
And he is scheduled
The compromise.
for October 18th, right? For an update? Okay, so hopefully he has some more progress done between now and then. And we'll see.
Yeah, hey, progress is
I'm,
progress.
as a member of the trail committee, I'm waiting for the approval of the lease agreement so that we can go on the rail easement. Because as it stands right now, the lease hasn't been approved by the state yet. Once they approve that, then we'll be able to access, and I would like to work at getting some people together to help move the dirt out from underneath the culvert itself, because you're not going to be able to get a machine to reach in there and drag it out. So there is going to be some handwork. But like I said, that would be the trail committee, and we have to wait till the lease
Right.
agreements.
We're not there
So
yet.
we're not there.
Yep.
So
Okey-doke. Pleasant Hills. So what happened there?
That was
Okay.
it's very important what's in that document.
Yeah, so basically there's a massive erosion situation where they were building into a hillside which they have stripped wide open, and with all the rain of this last year, there's no erosion controls. There's no erosion fence, there's no hay bales, and I would hesitate to even estimate the amount of silt that is washed into the wetlands, and in some case displacing wetlands and causing additional flooding further downhill from there.
Neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Through neighbors.
What was that, 71 Hillside?
Yeah, so honestly, and this is
What is
why
it doing to the neighbors? Is it flooding their yards? Is it depositing silt in their yards?
depositing silt, the wetlands
yeah.
on their property is filling with silt.
Right.
In fact, there's probably now completely silted in spots that used to be wetland at this point.
The stone wall between Pleasant Hills and this gentleman's property is crumbling. It's almost
Yeah,
non-existent.
It's being embedded with all the silt and everything, and eventually the silt will just disappear.
Bury it.
It was also, Dave actually ran some of the perimeter drains they have on one of their houses to right to the edge of their property,
Yeah.
adding to the problems.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
A
that.
neighbor has a perimeter drain?
Nope, this
No.
is.
No,
This
the
is
people from
the-
Pleasant Hills.
Yeah, the
The
people
developers.
the developers who
are
put in
draining
the,
off-site.
Yeah.
put
They
in
have
the,
a perimeter drain that's draining water off property.
Off property,
Yeah.
correct.
And Ken Comia has a laminated map of this gentleman's property from 71 Hillside that shows like where the wetland is
So
and the perimeter of Pleasant Hills.
the reasoning behind pulling the original file is to ascertain whether or not, or what the restrictions were for the original process, and if they are working beyond the engineered plans. And of course, they're obviously doing some kind of work without any erosion controls at all. And we're ascertaining whether or not we need to issue an immediate enforcement order.
Right, because hopefully we did issue,
yeah,
like, the need for a detention basin.
yeah.
And
Or even just
Mike
work-
Julian has already issued them an order to put in the silt fences 2 weeks ago, and they failed to do that already.
It's just a
Right,
complete
good
mud
point.
morass flowing downhill into other properties.
So, this was a partial certificate of compliance.
And I
Just
think
wanna see
we
what,
cleared a few of the properties,
yeah,
not on that side, but
okay. So that's
And
all that stuff.
I don't know if this is important for the records, DEP, Mia McDonald, who's our circuit rider, has been involved and has been very responsive to this gentleman. I can't remember his name. Bob something.
Okay, so the site-specific orders, the
Yep.
walking path must be made of material that will not wash away.
What walking path?
that's
Is that the
that path
path?
that's right over the stone wall, yeah.
Mm.
So,
There shall be no disturbance of vegetation within 25 feet of the northerly stone wall.
oh geez,
Yeah,
yeah. There's
that-
no vegetation left.
There's, yeah,
That's it.
So,
25.
well, that is absolutely a violation right
Yeah.
there.
Right.
obviously, because this project has been going on so long, obviously their original plans and designs have been.
Does it say anything about whether or not they have in the original plans, house lots going all the way into the side of the
Well, it
cut
won't say
slope?
anything in here,
Do they have any? Yeah.
you'd have to read this.
Yeah, because Mike Julian was saying.
I'm not an
that he
expert in
has
this
them
part.
take one house down. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
Well, I'm
And
referring
he
to
was
see if the
referring-
new construction was planned for originally. In
Oh,
fact.
okay.
I want to also make sure that if on the plans, on that corner, that they have listed erosion control. I mean,
And Burton, Michael, and I believe Mike worked on this, so he'll be able to answer some questions.
yeah,
He should be
I
here
mean, that,
at 6.
No.
I mean, without a compass, but if
Yeah,
that stone wall is on the northerly side, there's no trees, there's no vegetation.
Yeah.
And of
So
course,
this
the
is
entire-
Pleasant Street, so
the
and there's
entire,
Cornwall Ave. So
slope
I don't know
is
where
migrating
Hillside
over
is.
that area.
But he did say
okay, this is
about
town
the
of Southbridge
Clemenses.
land, town of Southbridge. Glenn R., Paula A.,
I mean, if that's
Who's that?
from 17 years ago, they're.
Yeah, they could be
new
different
owners.
people. Yeah, and I can't remember how long he said he had been there.
They just recently bought that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he wouldn't be on there. It was
Well-
Bob something.
We had that house lot that was closest to where we were standing.
Mhm.
Was there any house to the left of that one? Or was that,
Yes,
was
there,
that,
there was a house to the left.
okay, so we would be up at least to this lot, or this lot, but this is listed as the town of Southbridge. Are we on the right?
I was gonna
And
say,
the town of Southbridge
Pleasant
probably.
Street, Pleasant Street's there.
well, you have the farmland upslope, so. if you
Right,
find
because there's
farmland-
the Clements one.
Oh, all right.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, do they show plots down from there?
It just says town of Southbridge,
Yeah.
and then on this side, Alan Routhier.
Well, yeah, that would be the opposite side. If
Right.
this is Clements Hill, which
Right.
was up, this is the banking that they took away.
Yeah.
So do they show
That's right.
houses being put in there?
Well, they show
Nope.
lots,
It just shows lots here, it doesn't show them on the side of the hill.
yeah.
So that
So-
could be
Is a
in
violation.
violation
Yeah.
of their original plans.
Right.
too.
Let's see.
Um, Does the building inspectors have any kind of office hours currently? In other words, I
Oh,
would love
yes,
to
yeah.
have him look at these plans.
Yeah,
Mike
as a matter of
Julian?
fact, yeah, I have
Yeah.
Mike Julian,
Yeah.
because he would be able to
Any
tell you which
Town
one of
hall
these are.
hours.
Because here's the deal, we have engineer's plans.
Yeah.
If they are foundations where there shouldn't be, then he has the teeth to have them
Yeah.
removed.
He would be able to tell you, because these lots look awful small.
You know, they're not, I don't.
Yeah, what, I thought that was a,
Mm.
I don't know, smaller lots, but
Yeah,
maybe I'm getting
I
it
think
mixed up.
if Mike took a look at this, he'd be able to identify, if this is the property,
Do they show along the border where everything's washing, do they have erosion controls listed and shown on the map? Right
Yeah.
here alone, if they're
Yeah.
building.
if there was, it would be
Along here.
internal in here.
And so the question is, like, did the town of Southbridge sell that land? And,
If that's the right side we're looking at, it's
Yep.
obvious that this land got sold because that's
Right.
his property.
right,
It's also obvious that if part of their restriction was to maintain
Did any-
25 feet of unvegetated,
yeah, there's a violation right there.
vegetated space.
This,
Did anybody say, like, is it still Zuko?
Mike had mentioned something about there was some family switchover of the project originally started with one family member and was converted, it sold or transferred to another family member. It was supposed to be the same project. The other thing is if you look, this is their subdivision.
Mhm.
This land here is not part of their subdivision, yet they cleared this portion of the forest. If that seems to be another,
Right,
Who's
so that they
listed
could
as owner?
right.
Put another house in.
Well, you can't put a house.
House
No,
on.
I know,
Right,
but didn't they put another house, that yellow one?
There's a house here at the base of that huge banking.
Yeah, but I thought there was another house that they had put right
No,
there.
this is where the slope rises up. We'll go back to the topographical map.
Generally speaking, if we can confirm that
Yeah.
that order pertains to the area where we have wash,
All right.
then Mike Julian, he's looking for a violation of their orders, so
Right.
he can enforce.
See how close the lines are here? That's that banking going up the hill
Yeah,
that they basically stripped off. That in itself is just an incredibly stupid thing to do, and I can't understand how they,
So,
but
Aaron, with our new bylaws in mind,
Yep.
and with your legal office, what is the extent of what we can ask for in a emergency order?
So I'd have to look at the bylaw. I mean, that's so new. I don't
Yeah.
know those.
I brought one paper copy, but
Well,
it's
at
not
all.
the final one, I don't think.
not that building isn't already heading towards a mining situation, but since it appears that they're in violation of the original orders on this, I think minimally speaking, a cease
I think
and
you could,
desist.
I think you
Oh,
could do the enforcement
definitely,
order,
cease and desist.
yeah, the, right away, just based on the OOC. Well,
Yeah.
so, yes, I'm not taking that back, but
No.
I'm not sure the new bylaw,
Well, I just.
is it grandfathered in? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this happened before, I don't know.
Yeah, but the construction's
Oh,
new.
that's a
Right?
question.
Oh, so then no.
In other words, they are currently looking like they started a building project.
Yeah.
And then got way over their head, and now the entire slope is washing down off property.
Mm.
I mean, they're literally, it's stripped down to bare dirt.
Who are the builders for this project? Do we
Yeah.
know if
Well,
they're?
that's the other problem, is who do we
Credible?
issue it to?
Yeah,
I don't even know who's, what, in fact, I didn't get a straight answer whether or not they're still a consolidated single owner
Yeah, I
of
don't think it's
subdivision, or
them.
they're parting it out as they go.
Right.
mm,
We
And I don't
almost-
know if it's those builders.
it's, and this is proposed subdivision for Pleasant Hills. I wonder if even,
Someone's got to own the
Oh,
property that
exactly.
is now liquefying.
well, in the town, I mean, Hunter Ridge is a fine example of sometimes subdivision and developers get way over their head and the town ends up having to step in to
That is. a good
correct
question.
issues and, but this, as far as an emergency order goes, I think it's,
So I wish I could look up things here, but like I can go on the
Yeah.
GIS when I get home on the town site
How
and,
about realistically speaking that we know what we need to look up, or planning on putting things into action when we have Ken Comier here?
yep,
and
on the
we-
18th.
We can literally have all things ready to execute.
yeah.
at that
Is,
point.
will Ken be here tomorrow? Could we have Ken, sit down with Mike Julian and
Or have Mike Julian at least pour
at least
through
look over that?
what the plans were, what were mandated, and if there are lots in house foundations where there's not
Yeah.
supposed to be, that's.
So the only thing about meeting on Wednesday nights is like, there's no one here, right?
Yeah.
And I will leave it with a note on somebody's desk to walk it up there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, as
I'm
long
at
as
school all day.
it's not going to disappear on us.
right, that's the only thing. is-
But
Mm,
since
that's
Mike
right.
Julian was on that sidewalk, he's totally gonna be expecting that, so.
Okay.
So that would be fine. But to my knowledge, Ken Comey is only here on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So he's not
Well,
gonna be here.
I was gonna say, I'm available during the day, but the thing is that file would have to, like you said, would have to be accessible to either planning and development or somewhere in the building. If I could come in.
Do you want to like walk it over to Mike? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I could, tomorrow might be,
Or at any time? I mean, it doesn't, you know.
Just want to make
If
sure
we're
that
not-
I
this
just-
file doesn't
Doesn't
disappear.
get
yeah, exactly, I don't,
Sometimes,
that's,
yeah.
and that's my concern too, as well. That if I take possession of it, I'll take possession of it and be
Well,
critical of
You
it,
can,
but,
you can be rest assured that the order was recorded, so at the register,
right,
another set of plans should be in the town clerk's office, because that was back when I was
Right,
doing
right.
it.
Hmm.
I don't think Eric Rumsey was giving a copy of all plans to the town clerk's office.
Mhm.
okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. If it was Thursday night, we could, we'll just march this upstairs.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. That's the only thing about Wednesdays, but
Okay.
we have to do what we have to do, because we need,
Right.
we need,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not complaining. In fact, I was like, the 5 o'clock is, you know what I mean, on a Wednesday, I'm like, oh, this is really good, because I'll get home, I like to do it all that night, and I would
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
stay up
And
till
then
like
it's
crazy
early.
hours on
Yeah.
Thursday nights to get it all done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway,
All right.
neither here nor there.
I-
But yeah, we trust you,
So-
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Just
So, yeah,
sure Mike
and-
Julian gets it.
Yeah, and then if he
call
needs
his
something,
attention
have him make a copy
Yeah.
and, but tell him that's, our only, our only
That
copy.
it
I was-
appears, minimally speaking,
Yeah.
that they're already in violation of their,
yeah.
OOCs.
the OOC, the,
And in that,
conditions.
so let me give you exactly the OOC page. I'll open it up to that
Yeah.
page right in the,
Yeah, because Mike's not familiar
Well,
with
and Mike was
that as much
adamant
as we are.
about the fact that the silt fences that he requested 2 weeks ago are still
Aren't
no
there.
apparent. So there's,
That's where us issuing
right,
enforcement.
right, an enforcement order from us will give him the teeth to say,
Although it seems like a lot of people are dodging these regardless.
okay, so it's down here. Those are the two site-specific conditions. So that'll be opened up and it'll be the first thing
the first thing.
in the file.
Okay.
Okay? And then, of course, the plans, will be helpful as well.
Do we have access to the DEP page with any comments? Because Ken Comey just said he found the DEP number.
So I don't see that page in there.
Okay.
I can try, back in that day, I wanna say 99% said no comment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, it was I just saw a thing in there of Hamer's comments. Do you want Hamer's comments? I just put it in date order while you guys were looking at the plan. Hamer had concerns, but it was signed off on, so we must have.
Ameliorated them.
Well, hearing your concerns.
Yeah, I would love to hear his concerns. If it's the water table is really high, then there we go.
So this is a memo to Larry Spinelli at the planning board. Copy to us, copy to the town manager from Hamer Clark. This is a preliminary review of a 30-unit definitive plan prepared by Burton Engineering. I currently have only a reduced set of plans delivered on Monday to work with. Consider using a second entrance at the north end of the property to reduce the length of the dead end. Show how all of the undeveloped area will be treated, used, and maintained.
Developed area, huh?
I don't think.
I mean, this isn't a permit. It is possible that a water booster station will be required for the upper end of the subdivision.
What is a water booster?
Does that have to do with sewage?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to somebody who said they actually worked on that project. There's a sewer pump that pumps the sewer to out
That
to
actually
spaces.
makes sense on
okay.
that being the north end because natural low spot, that's where everything is washing off the property.
The location of the proposed water loop seems a little convoluted. A different location might be appropriate.
That would have to do with the water main.
Yeah.
The route of the gravity sewer main should be via the center line of Pleasant Street rather than along the rear of the existing lots.
Oh, wow.
Is it?
I'm kind of hoping that's where they routed things.
The design of the proposed sewer pump station is unacceptable.
Oh.
It appears
Wow.
that a waiver for paved width will be requested. I have no objection provided all on-street parking is prohibited both by signage and deed restriction. It's the width of the street. If this is to be a gated community, is it to be inferred that town will not be responsible for acceptance and maintenance of the road? Drainage calculations and stormwater management plan have not been submitted. The detention pond outlet control was not clear.
Is it a gated community? I
No.
didn't think it is.
No, it said if.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering.
No.
They
Is
just
it-
specified a detention pond.
Yeah,
Is that on
The
the plan?
detention pond outlet control was not.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
specifically see anything.
yeah, because that was what
This is
Mike
exactly
was saying.
Yeah,
Mike,
Is not there.
Utilities plan, is that better? This one says utilities.
Yeah, that
Does
might.
that have a detention? Or retention?
I talented people.
And finally, the landscaping is appreciated and the ornamental lighting is a nice touch. The lighting locations, however, were not clear.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there is, it just, oh no, here's a detention pond, we just weren't anywhere near it, because we were down here.
It's on the
And
opposite
it's
side over
on the
here.
opposite side, but perhaps there should be another one.
Well, it's on the opposite side because there was there's no available land short of removing some of their lots, which Mike had already
Right here.
said that.
Right here, right where we were looking.
That's the top of the hill. That's,
I
see,
thought this was the hill,
right, the hill comes,
but what if the
that's
detention
all
was
slope.
right there?
That's all slope. Because the elevation where Clemens's farmland starts
Mhm.
is the top of where they stripped everything off. So that
Yeah.
whole hill, in other words,
It just
The-
seemed like
the-
there was some flat land there.
And I think when the lines are close together, that
Right.
means it's steep,
yeah,
Yeah.
see,
right?
See,
When the
the
lines are
stri-
further apart.
No,
The slope-
I'm just saying where I was standing,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure where it was, it seemed like there was some land.
yeah, I
It
think,
could be.
I kind of think we,
They certainly would
We
need
were-
some to put a
Yeah.
pond there, which would be wonderful, would take some significant engineering.
but that whole slope runs right into the land on this side. Like I said, this is Clemens farmland up here.
Yeah,
And the house lot that they put in here, this is all the cleared slope up the hill.
yeah, so I'm not sure why the detention pond was put up here.
There might be other
What-
wetlands.
It needs
And it might have,
at least two,
it might have never been put in.
right, I mean, we
think
didn't
we're
go
seeing-
up
we're
that
seeing-
area.
We're seeing that they've changed things along the way.
Yeah. They
Well,
might have
that's-
even changed developers.
Yeah, and And-
They may not be Zuko.
And with the retention pond over here, there's no way of getting this runoff water that is
Exactly.
causing problems here to the other side of the property,
That's
so
why I
it's,
think the
Exactly, that's why I'm
specification
saying there
was
should
not
be another
to
one.
strip vegetation
Mm.
off that side.
Right,
of the
that
development.
wording.
Because certainly, but when they did that, they opened up to this mudslide
Mm.
downhill.
so none of these
So that is,
show a detail of that.
so with Mike Jones, if
Ah, here it
we
is.
look at this,
Yeah,
we might be able to, on the, 18th you said,
Yes.
issue effective and immediate enforcement orders, and then we can also look at what our bylaw says. If they are ignored, what kind of
I
fines and
know.
on what kind of schedule we can
Yeah.
assess.
So Ken Camilla should be here on the 18th.
Yeah.
I have, I'm in charge of Honor Society, and the date for that was set back in June. But when we talked about like having Scott come and whatever, it didn't even occur to me that that's because we're usually Thursdays, so
Yeah.
I never have this problem. But Ken will be here, so I'm sure I will ask him to take the minutes and stuff, and I will have to him whatever
Yeah,
you give me tonight to get ready. So,
okay.
and I will drop those off probably 8 o'clock tomorrow morning
Yeah.
to Mike, and hopefully he can,
Don't let it be 8:01.
I know. Trust me,
We gotcha.
somebody asked me if I could help them tomorrow, and I said, yeah, sure, okay. So I'm supposed to be ready to leave at 8 o'clock, so our first stop will be the town hall.
all right. How about 631 Charlton Street? And am I gonna be doing 631 separately in the notes, or is it tied to 516?
It is tied.
It's tied.
But we got a couple quick questions on that.
Okay, 631.
631. So, our wetlands protection funds, can we use those to bring in an expert on tree removal in a wetlands
Yes.
area.
Right.
Because there is a massive multi-trunk tree that is absolutely completely in the brook. And before we propose solutions, it might be nice to get a professional evaluation on
What we can,
How to
what
remove it.
a removal would look like, the kind of procedure recommended, and maybe even the kind of personal quote we'd be looking at to have it done. Obviously, this is the
Who would pay for that?
realm
It's-
of the landowner.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we, oddly, I don't think we can pay for that.
We cannot.
I think
And
you're
I'm
wrong,
not
but I would
even-
look it up.
I'm not proposing that the town pay for it unless, and this was something that was sort of spitballing, although I don't know how realistic it would be, that property owners like that might want to consider a conservation restriction and take a 50-foot section of resource area off everybody's property back there. Maybe have a town trail, a river walk, and then this stuff like this, maintaining trees that are leaning from erosion or falling into the brook, can be handled by our DPW in the future.
Which I think is a fantastic idea.
that would go in, similar to a Katy Brook Association.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah.
why I'm stating this in this order is if someone starts talking about a massive expense to remove a tree and then
fallen tree.
enforcement orders, they're not going to want to listen to about alternate proposals. So I want to know what the size of the beast is
Right.
before we are approaching, because as soon as we mention something that could be a 5 to 12,000 on the low end removal cost to a property owner, and they are no longer willing to let us walk on their property, this becomes something hard to handle.
Right.
So approaching it in a friendly fashion and sending in a wetlands expert.
As a layman, I looked at the fact that maybe if with a cable and a come along, trying to just pull the log from right now it's going directly across the brook. If we were able to pull it to the shore, it would stop that debris from building up. However, that's a layman's attempt at.
I like your thinking, and the catch is here that why I want an expert to go over it is because we're releasing a whole lot of water,
Right.
and
The
there
liability.
is all sorts of debris already behind it.
Oh.
So it needs to be more like a beaver dam removal, where you're taking it down bits and pieces, and maybe even doing it on a timing of. And the other thing of using a come along, you might be scouring the riverbed as you're yanking it over. So we're trying to avoid the damage. Hence why let's find a wetlands expert, maybe an arborist that can combine removal of tree in water. I don't know. I haven't even attempted to look up what a service like that would be.
Right.
But if we can use some of our wetlands protection funds to get a quote.
We can
for-
always,
I would think
we
that's
can
a
always
proper
use
use.
them, we can always use that money to get expert advice for what we need to.
Yeah.
So maybe we can look into what kind of expert we would need to consult for this.
So Ken Comia might have some because of what he does, for the
Yeah.
regional planning,
Right.
I'm wondering if he'll have names, I don't know.
That would be wonderful, because that would be my first step recommendation.
Is this when Ken would pull out Ingeborg Hegeman? She's a wetlands scientist. Does that mean, I don't know.
Don't
if this
know.
is
But
even-
didn't she retire? I mean, it's like, I've heard her name so many times and I've been on this commission for 30 years. It's like, I'm sure there's other people.
I'm not
But-
against Stephen.
She's the one I've got in my phone.
Right, right.
That's the one I.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Yeah,
she's not the
She
person,
might
I'm
have-
just
Or I could
saying,
even email her and just see if she has.
Yeah, she might have.
Right,
We might
she
just need some
may
good
com-
I'm just
referrals.
assuming we
Recommend.
can't get to Ken, and plus I don't want to take an hour conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the,
It'll be an hour if I actually get hold of him.
I don't know if he would be appropriate, but the gentleman from EDT Engineering, the site
Oh.
wash that we did.
yeah.
Hold on, hold on,
Oh.
Glenn
hold on.
Kravosky.
No.
Yeah, Glenn Kowalski.
No.
He would not be appropriate.
No,
Okay.
Why?
no,
Why?
several reasons. Not to least of which is saying this is kind of a conflict of interest since he has a property in just right up the ways from there too.
Oh,
516.
yeah.
That,
The,
and he got
think-
immediately
Oh,
defensive as
884.
soon as I mentioned wood turtles.
oh, he sent me
Yeah.
an email.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
I thought he was very receptive to the turtle.
What did he say? Hold
I would
on.
love to know.
I ignored it. I'm sorry, it wasn't an email. I'm sorry, he sent me a voicemail. Yeah, this was like, it was something about you could have put this other thing in the OOC about the turtles. Something about like reporting, we put reported to the Conservation Commission. He literally called me and left me a voicemail that you could have put it to, that it had to be reported to DEP because no one has seen any up there and it hasn't been reported yet. So you should, so I'm thinking, why are you calling me? Because it's done. There's no amending, at this point. We're not gonna amend for that. If it's reported to you, you can report it to, whatever. I was like, who has time?
No, I
Okay.
nailed a very raw nerve on that because he is, at least if you crank back 15, 20 years, he was a huge conservationist, specifically specializing in trout and wood turtles.
Okay.
And it seems like he has sold a little bit of his ethics down to be a developer, and that hit a nerve because I'm talking about what his depth of professional work in conservation was in calling him to task on it. His reaction told me that there is a reason why he didn't want that brought forward. It wasn't just a random kind of thing. I appreciate that some of the things he was recommending is good practice.
He's
But
not a
he-
developer though, is he?
No, he's.
I didn't
he's
think
the
he was.
engineer for
He's an
it.
engineer for this development
Developers.
and trying to clear us to, as you were explaining during the whole thing, pre-approve
Pre-approved.
a project on the, in other words, the land's worth a hell of a lot less if you can't develop it. So having a pre-approved set of plans on what you can do, you might not want to call to attention that you are sitting on a priority habitat of a listed species.
Right.
So, and
Okay.
you're not going to hold me to task on natural heritage not having their maps updated. They're years behind on that.
Right.
So there absolutely are turtles there, and he knows the profile of the brook. He probably suspects there's turtles there
Right.
as well. So I'm sure he didn't love that that was put directly on it.
Oopsie.
Oopsie indeed. So that's
Okay.
why I feel after that reaction, I don't feel so warm and fuzzy about him being a great objective resource. to
Right. And I have a feeling that, I don't, he's not a tree guy, so
Yeah.
we're
Not a tree
definitely
guy.
not
He's
a
not,
tree
he's
guy.
not a tree guy, yeah.
Steve Brady is a tree guy, but he's not a water guy.
Right.
So
So
we need to combine this.
you need somebody who's both.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will
isn't
talk to
this
Ken
where a
Comey.
Mac would help us?
By
Like
all
they
means,
they
reach
would
out.
know who might help
I
us.
can try them as well. The last couple
Or
times we
Mia
tried
McDonald.
them, it was not,
The circuit rider.
yeah.
Because that definitely, just the removal of that tree
Right,
is
it's gonna
going
cost
to,
thousands.
it's also going to mitigate a
Yeah.
lot of the problems downstream.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there is a lot to hash through downstream, but they are becoming exacerbated problems because of the tree that's causing a dam, raising the level of Katy Brook, and then the brook, once it leaves its banks, is finding the easiest route back
Right.
into the brook.
So is it backing up to 516?
No,
No.
Am I picturing that correctly?
No,
No.
516's downstream.
Downstream.
So the water
So this is
level is
backing
going
up over here,
and it's leaving the brook.
and it's
and
going
heading through
side-
all these
Oh,
back-
that
to the
neighbors.
sides.
Yep,
Okay.
and
Yep.
then return
And then
to the
going
brook
down.
and then
Okay.
at
return,
516.
which
Okay,
there is.
now tell me about 516
Five
in
six-
minutes.
516 is extensive erosion.
So yes, so 516 now
Is this the flooded
We-
house? Is this Bemis's house?
yes.
Yeah.
So let's clarify this because I was informed while we were on site that
And was she
she
there?
does no she was
She
not
wasn't there. Another neighbor came up.
And just briefly said hi, but here's my issue. I was told that her property does not go all the way to the brook, that there is a secondary, one of the other houses
Yeah.
on that plot.
Yeah, which
So-
I didn't know.
Obviously, when we have a heavy rain event, Katy Brook leaves the.
It's
Normal
bed,
path.
At
Goes up the neighbors.
Yeah, it goes through all the neighbor properties. Now, two things are happening here. One, because of that tree, it is flooding all the backyards.
yeah.
So that is Bemis's prime complaint, and validly so. And her neighbor up there, which has a
Before
lot
her, upstream from her or downstream?
Upstream.
Upstream.
With the sand.
has a lot of unpermitted structures and
Development,
building
yeah.
going on, which is not causing the flooding, but is exacerbating it
Yeah.
because of the removal of trees or these building projects that weren't permitted is causing scouring and then massive erosion as the Katy Brook returns back to its riverbed.
Right. And erosion prevention is part of our wetlands bylaw.
Oh yeah.
We weren't able to
But-
see the lots further up, but they look like they're undeveloped woodland areas. So those houses, whether they acknowledge that Katy Brook is running in their backyard now, it really doesn't impact their properties because it is undeveloped land. So,
So
but
there's
once you,
another area that doesn't,
yeah,
that isn't bothered.
well,
Well,
I
no
think
one's
those,
complaining about it, but
Yeah,
it
nobody's-
is also being flooded.
yeah,
Because
Right.
it is certainly a lot by lot all the way down from there.
Yeah.
Now, two things I want to highlight. One, the flooding itself is not necessarily a realm of the Conservation Committee. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that is not what is causing, the flooding of the backyards is not causing it to be a conservation issue. What it is causing the conservation issue is as it's returning to Katy Brook, it is massively scouring the banks. In fact, we have, I would easily estimate, a 6-foot erosion
Yeah.
drop
And
straight down.
It's wider than since we first
a
saw it.
lot of
Yes.
a lot of exposed tree roots
There's
and
going to be more
trees that'll
trees
fall.
landing in the brook
Right.
because they're being undermined by this scouring. I
Yeah.
don't know whose property that is. but
It's
I would
between Sherry
ideally-
Bemis's and the person with the sand.
I would ideally like to see somebody. And here, once again, the tree is bad.
Right.
This is even worse. I need to see the bank armored and
Right.
fixed because if we pull the tree, it's unlikely to flood like that and make that worse, but the damage is already there. We have a compromised bank. So this is why they are connected, but kind of unrelated.
And does that need to be done, this is more for me to understand it, does that need to be done like on one property or multiple properties?
Multiple.
We'd have,
Hold on before we answer this.
yeah,
So let's back up for a second. So a lot of this problem, the exacerbation of the flooding turning into actual wetlands damage, is being caused by the fact that the property upstream from her, I don't know the address, does anybody have the address of that property? Mike Julian has, they came before him to get permission to build a deck.
Yeah.
He
A
denied-
playground, you mean?
No, the deck.
Oh, okay.
He denied the permit for the decks because everything they've already installed right on the brook
Yeah,
is unpermitted. So
he said no more.
he said no more, and then we built the deck anyways.
We built the deck anyways.
So, in doing so, they've also taken out trees and a half-assed attempt at a fence, a siltation fence. And although their land is seeded and vegetated, as soon as it crosses off their
Right.
property,
It drops
it
off.
is starting immediately scouring. So,
and Mike did say that that whole case would probably end up on Robert Capera's desk as a lawsuit, because it's not only the permit violation, it's just,
So that landowner is probably
yeah,
on the hook for some, at least
he's
some of this.
not likely
Not
going
gonna
to
be
be
happy.
allowing anybody on his property.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
So, I know Bemis
Trying to-
justifiably,
I keep looking every time.
yeah,
I'm just trying to catch Mike, my mic,
yeah.
if he comes by to
No.
take a look at that,
That's
yeah.
fine. Bemis is justifiably angry with the flooding.
Right.
And, although it's
Does
obvious.
she understand at this point, do we know, because you didn't see her?
No.
Because she,
No.
See,
the emails, right, she
Yeah.
was saying, I'm afraid this is getting, that, it's the building, and it's getting, all of this is getting blamed on the tree, but it's really both.
It is the tree,
I think-
because without the tree, it would not be flowing through their backyard and then into her backyard.
Right. Okay.
But the damage being done is should also be corrected by whoever the property owner
Right.
is. I mean, and that one I would say, only because it's their property, that's why we're aiming this at them. Because honestly, that is being caused by the unpermitted work
Right.
next door. Not the flooding,
Right.
but where the flooding is outliving
Yeah.
back into
Is
the brook.
is because of the, yeah.
The construction. So that's why this is one.
So you had said two things, I wonder if I have both here. Flooding, not necessarily the realm of conservation. Returning, when
Back.
it returns back, it scours the banks.
Yes.
Second point was the erosion drop, 6-foot erosion drop?
That
Or
is.
fix the bank, we have to fix
we
that
need to
scouring.
fix the scouring.
Okay.
So
That's point 2, all right.
without being an expert, once again,
Right,
on
but
this,
in your opinion,
I
this is
am,
what's
my
happening.
opinion is it should be an armored slope and
Yeah.
then re-backfilled. So any kind of return wash coming down from just normal rain is infiltrating into the soils and into the yards and not going, continuing to bring silt into Katy Brook.
And vegetated once
Okay.
it's rebuilt.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're not ready to do anything yet.
We have an understanding of the problem, and certainly we could probably write up something to Mrs. Bemis that says, I'm not sure what it says, because in truth, the flooding that is filling her backyard, although not a conservation issue, is absolutely a conservation issue to solving, in that there's a tree in the wetlands upstream, and
And the
it's
erosion.
causing the water to leave the brook and go through multiple properties. And yes, the flooding it might have returned to the brook, maybe if this person
Sooner, if this person, right?
did not strip down the trees, but he's certainly not the cause of the flooding. He's just making the situation.
Right.
Well, I can,
It's
you know
all
what I'll
making
do?
it worse.
I'll draft sort of an explanation of that,
Yeah.
and then I'll send it to you before I, for
Okay.
approval, before I send it to her, an email, just so to keep her up to date. So what is the next step?
The next step is seeing to 631 Charlton Street with an expert to figure out how, if there is any way within even reasonable cost where no one's going to balk at this cost, providing an outlet for the Cade Brook to get around that fallen tree.
Okay. All right, let me draft that up and then I'll send it out to you and,
Okay. Both of the site walks today was just a nightmarish level of holy.
Yeah. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Morris Street, did you end up going there or did we decide that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't
We did
go.
not go on site
today.
walk today, but we did talk about a few issues, and I'm not saying that there isn't a potential. If you have an overly large amount of ETVs regularly going on there to
Right.
cause some issue, but it really isn't the realm of, there's not an obvious flagrant
Right.
damage into the wetlands.
But I see a big erosion thing, and that's from the ATVs. So that's the only
You
thing
would
that
have
we could
tough-
get them on.
You would have a tough time arguing that, since that the loop route around the whole golf course is an existing pathway put in by the golf course for the golf carts.
Well, the erosion is right at the beginning. There's like not that steep a hill, but man, it is, those
Yeah.
tire tracks, it's really scouring
There is
it.
scoured rut, but I don't see evidence of it landing in the actual wetlands. It is just eroding downhill. There is in some cases, as thin as about a 3-foot margin of vegetation between the actual wetlands and that access road, which
Right,
is
because
eroding.
that's where,
But
that's
at the
one
base
area
of it,
where
it's just adding sand to that access trail that's going around. I don't see it going directly into the wetlands. I could be wrong. There might be an area, but here's the other question. What is our realm of protection for an encapsulated wetland on a private property? The entire wetland is contained within the golf course.
right.
Is it,
Well, you can't contaminate a wetland.
no,
I
but
would imagine but again, like I said, what they were describing was not that's not the complaint. I mean, you know what I mean? If you've seen it in that.
Right, they were talking
that
about
complaint. They thought
the
they saw
oil.
oil.
Right,
I don't see.
not erosion.
And then the picture, like I said, the picture they showed, or the video, only at the very end can you see the sheen, right? And then, like I said, so I asked my husband, because he knew the two guys, and I said, this, and he said, that looks like, having been in civil engineering, right, that what the wetland plans can make at this time of year. And so I looked up online and I held the two pictures and they were like, Matt, I'm not saying it can't, it can't be oil. but I
Where
don't know.
exactly was that? Because like,
I
I just
can
went
send
at the
you,
beginning.
you were included on that picture,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
Look for
Then
it.
I'll look for it.
Your email. And that's
Kim
the
just
thing.
sent to me.
In all
Did it
the
say
time-
exactly where on that?
Where within the property? No,
Yeah.
they just show.
Oh, okay.
It could be anywhere within the.
Right, it's huge,
Yeah,
and
what's
so I'm just saying like where I
Geo.
pick.
Where would you look, right?
Right,
Yeah, unless
exactly.
you have a GPS pin.
Right. Okay,
It's pretty tough.
That's just what I'm asking.
Being on the property quite a few times, I've not seen a single ATV trail that's crossed into the wetlands.
Right.
And also being a avid rider myself, ATVs aren't traditionally pissing oil out.
Right? Unless you were, literally trying to, like I said, it was a rocky, rough area and swampy. I don't know how you know.
Yeah.
Even,
Unless it's
I
damaged.
mean, I think, and I think we're just being weaponized from one neighbor against another neighbor who's frustrated with what's going on.
Yeah, the noise or the.
I'm not saying
I'm
we
sure it is
can't-
frustrating for those neighbors,
I
you
can't,
know?
I'm not saying we can't keep an eye on the situation, but
Mm-hmm.
unless someone is providing some solid proof, in other words, a picture far enough back showing.
Well, or a
ATVs
sample, take the
crossing,
water
or
sample.
Right.
water
And then we
sample.
can and have it
Yeah.
tested.
Right.
Although I like to have some professional taking the sample if they're going to do it, so someone's not just taking some
Right,
water.
just
Very
Yeah.
good point, very
Yeah.
good point, you're
Right.
absolutely right, yeah.
and that's one of the situations you get into is if it's just an abutter who doesn't want the ATVs there anymore, like Natasha
Yeah,
says.
they might
they're
do
just-
that.
They're just trying to weaponize us to
Right.
eliminate the ATVs and.
I mean, I don't want to see any damage to that wetlands. I love that wetland. It's beautiful. It's expanding.
I'll have to check it out.
But
And it's great turtle.
by the same token, I do recognize the typical neighborhood thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Our neighbor across the street used to have access to a Sawyer's Path, and anybody with an ATV all the way up Lebanon Hill Road would go at a breakneck pace on the road, down the road, and then sweep right to his property onto Sawyer's Path. So we put a fence across it, and that is the town right of way. I'm not going to complain for it because I know where he's coming from.
Right,
On
that's
that
kind
one.
of, yeah.
And and when Sawyer's Path was open, you have legitimate ATV damage in the wetlands because Sawyer's Path, about halfway down, crosses directly over Lebanon Brook. Each one of those ATVs are crossing through the brook and potentially running over endangered species and all that. And I am 100% in favor of putting an end to ATV use, right, especially in that area, because it's priority habitat.
Mr. Lloyd, can we ask you a question before you go to your other meeting? Or are you late?
Okay.
Zuko Construction,
Yes.
where's the erosion?
On Pleasant Hills.
Where on Pleasant Hill?
On the north side.
It's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
The slope is melting onto a private property.
Do you know who
Yeah.
owns that now?
The nearest we can tell is right.
They just sold it two times. They sold it to another guy and somebody just bought it.
Yeah,
About a
because
year and a half ago.
it was owned by the town of Southbridge.
No, that's,
That property.
It's gotta be one
no,
of these.
this is, well, none of these lots are, there's a stone wall here.
Right,
Yeah,
Almost.
So is it coming through the stone wall?
yeah.
yeah, it's
coming-
destroying
it's
the
coming
stone
down
wall.
I
along the
couldn't tell
stone
you,
wall.
but it's a
and
huge
through.
amount of silt that is now
They've
over the wall
also
and
clear
Well, the
cut
silt, if it's silt coming going this way or that way?
Yes.
this way.
No, that way.
Okay.
And
And they've also
Why, it's
clear
coming from
cut.
here to here or
No,
here to
no,
here?
here to
Yeah,
here.
so gotta find out whoever owns all these lots. and-
Right. They also clear cut this whole
Yeah, there's
slope
no
going up to
vegetation
Clemens.
left.
Originally, they did it originally, I thought, years ago.
Well, it looked like it's been recently,
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Everything's disturbed.
somebody did more.
yeah.
But no, because all this slopes, if I'm not mistaken, except for right here, all this in here slopes down.
Yeah,
Yep.
right, and that's where the erosion is.
That
That's
is,
Yeah, behind them houses.
Yeah.
These houses, I think there's people living in these houses now.
And we went to the person's house. who
Yeah,
owns that.
the thing is if these people, it's because it's affecting them.
yeah, it's affecting their land.
These people.
But he had drainage, they have drainage pipes that go right
Yeah,
into the
they're-
person's land.
They're-
There's supposed to
they're
be no
perimeter
disturbance
drains.
of vegetation within 25 feet of the stone wall.
Correct.
There's no vegetation.
I don't,
Their perimeter drains for their foundations
Yeah, perimeter
are coming right to the edge of the stone wall.
yeah, I mean, that's not the end of the world. You don't get enough water out of that. It's more so the sloping in the back that's
Slope,
washing
yeah.
in the heavy rains. You know what? The thing is
then they gotta control erosion. It's a building inspector issue.
Yeah, Mike Julian has already told them.
Because Mike Julian just did it to the guy in our neighborhood and made him put riprap along the whole slope.
Yeah,
And,
this would
so-
be more than an order.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, man.
Commissioner, I did not
Once
call the
again,
police.
Mike Julian.
I
Yeah.
need to call, or some, I want to say somebody said they were gonna ask Shane.
Well, Gus called Shane to ask about Board of Health tags, because he thinks they should all have them. And I said, whenever Shane calls him, or notifies him, I will let you guys know,
Oh, okay.
so that we can do it together.
Okay, good. Commissioner announcements?
Anybody have anything?
No, do you want to talk about your thing, your event on Saturday?
Yes, we had the Turtle Gala on September 30th, which was a big success. The author Cy Montgomery was there signing her latest book, and had over 120 people in attendance. Yes, so everybody got to celebrate turtles and the announcement that the book entered the New York Times bestseller list.
Wow,
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is at number 13 right now.
that's awesome.
And although only changing from conservation related.
Wow.
Yeah, it is conservation. You're just talking about wood turtles and
Yeah, true.
things like that?
Awesome, anything else?
Let's cross our fingers
There's-
that
yeah, there's
the
a-
rain stops and
Yeah, they continue efforts on Gulf Street.
Yes.
I'll keep abreast of that. Like I said, and I like the fact that Scott realizes there's much more work that has to be achieved. So,
So the next meeting will be on 10/18. I will make sure that Ken Comia is all set to take notes as well as,
yeah.
and so that will again will be at 5 o'clock,
would it be Ken?
and that's a Wednesday.
We can, I send Scott a reminder that he needs to give an update.
Oh, sure. I think
Or-
Scott gave me his email last time, so yeah.
Yeah, I just drop them a note so
Yeah.
pretend to be
Did
having
Mr.
seen
Shenian
them.
come in?
He looked in and then he went out, so I don't know if he's going to the planning board. Yeah, it might be something interesting to say at Citizens Forum for the next Concom.
Usually. All right then, I
No.
think we could make a motion.
So the one after that will be the 8th, November
Oh.
8th, correct? I just want to,
So Wednesday.
Although I
two.
do want to, while we're under limited use with Ken
I'm so sorry, one
Comia,
second. Hi, I'm at conservation. Are you good? Okay, bye. Okay.
Okay.
November,
I was going to say, if we only have 10 on the third Friday, unless we have something pending.
well, on
oh,
Wednesday, November
it's actually
8th.
November 3rd, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
November 1st actually would be the Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
okay.
thing is, if there's nothing super
Unless,
pending,
why don't we say it's gonna be the 15th, and then if something comes up that we need to make the 1st,
yeah.
Okay,
we could do the 1st.
so November 15th.
So if there is an emergency that we're needed, we'll certainly.
Right, I don't know of any filings coming up.
Just
So the
like-
18th we'll do all our dirty deeds about,
Yeah, if you
Shutting
if you
down,
deliver
issuing-
this
Yes, first thing
and,
in the morning.
and he pours over it, and if he finds any restrictions, tell him to write up some notes, and they will be presented
On
at
the
the 18th, and we will use that as our grounds for issuing
instituting,
an
11.
enforcement order.
yeah.
So I just want someone who's skilled at reading blueprints to pour over that, and especially someone who's been on the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah.
we'll give him whatever.
And I think he's very adamant about, yes, and I think he's very adamant about the silt fences that weren't
When I saw
installed.
that area, my head nearly exploded because at first, just hearing him, I'm thinking, that sounds like a complaining neighbor situation again. When we get there, I'm like,
And then
oh, good God.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I would almost say he was underplayed.
Yeah, actually,
Really?
yeah, he is,
Yeah.
considering that it's been, what,
I thought he was very
a couple
calm.
of years.
He was very calm.
This is my personal thing, and you guys may disagree, but just assuming that everything is a neighbor complaint,
Well,
I don't think is cool.
Well,
No.
We should
no, but-
consider it
yeah.
and not dismiss
we didn't dismiss
anything.
anything. We were there.
Yeah, I didn't dismiss anything. I'm just saying. I know previous people always said that was the situation, but let's
I mean,
take
by all
everything
means,
with a grain of salt.
If you want to be the one to personally explain to Mrs. Bemis what's going on, I would be happy.
No, because I really don't even understand it all.
Actually, another point about that Bemis property, I talked with somebody, the last storm that we had didn't actually make it to the Bemis property because of the scouring has gotten to the point where it just immediately drops off into the
Yeah.
brook there and it doesn't continue over to the
Yeah, it
Bemis
looks like
property.
a
Yeah,
massive
yeah.
bathtub. drain.
Right. Exactly.
So,
And that's not the kind of solution I tell people.
Right.
all right, well,
And I'm not saying it's not a neighbor thing, but I'm saying let's not just jump to conclusions because that, I mean, they are taxpayers and we are
Which is,
providing a service
yeah,
and.
well, you know, the taxpayers are paying me oh so much.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we have an expertise that most people do not have.
Yes.
So
And
let's
I'm
just not
saying
dismiss.
Some of the neighbors don't appreciate the nuance of what needs to be protecting the wetlands.
Right.
You get a damp backyard and you turn to conservation.
Right, but, you know, she tried a number of ways. That's why I said I appreciate your persistence in trying to get somebody. She was shuttled from different
Yeah.
departments in this town hall, so I appreciated her being persistent.
Yeah.
I just always hated when Ken Pickering said, oh, it's probably just a neighbor problem.
Yeah.
You know, we can't assume that it's
And
always.
she absolutely has a neighbor problem.
Oh, yeah, and that is not our bailiwick.
No, it isn't. I'm glad.
But
no, Mike
the
Julian
erosion,
has a can of worms there.
yeah,
Did we?
But I will
It's a
say
big
that,
problem.
You know, I don't think we ever did not investigate or get to the bottom.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's just, I'm not saying we did.
Right.
Uh,
It's a pet
I'm
peeve of yours
just,
to
I'm
hear
just,
that, but
I'm just saying I've
people are just
heard
talking
it
out
so
loud.
many
Right,
times
people are just talking
since
out
Ken
loud
has
because
left.
There were
I
times,
refrain
right, where
from
that
saying
happened.
that
yeah.
out loud then.
Okay, so we are good to go then, 6:44. Let's get out of this fire.
Motion-
Let's
motion-
dance down.